Welcome back in, everyone. I hope you're having a good day today. Just yesterday, the CEO of the biggest company in the world, Nvidia, came out with a big statement about their revenues going through 2027. We'll talk about what this means for Nvidia. Then we have breaking news from the SEC, how they're getting rid of quarterly filings for individual stocks. We'll talk about what this means going forward for individual stock investors. And then lastly, I want to go over a clip from a YouTube video where two LLM chatbots are going at each other in a chess match and what this means for something like a Duolingo going forward. So let's get started. Nvidia had a big event yesterday, and Jensen Huang came out with some big expectations for the company going through full year 2027. So let's take a listen to what he had to say here.
Last year, at this time, I said that where I stood at that moment in time, we saw about $500 billion. We saw $500 billion of very high confidence demand and purchase orders for Blackwell and Rubin through 2026. I said that last year. Now, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but $500 billion is an enormous amount of revenue. Not one impressed. I know why you're not impressed, because all of you had record years. Well, I'm here to tell you that right now where I stand, a few short months after GTC DC, 1 year after last GTC, right here where I stand, I see through 2027 at least $1 trillion.
Now, this is a big statement from Jensen Huang. As we can see here, over the past 4 quarters, Nvidia has only done $216 billion in revenue, which is nothing to bat an eye at. What I'm seeing a lot of Nvidia investors confuse online is that he does not mean for full year 2027 they will have $1 trillion in revenue. What he means is from full year 2025 through 2027, they will see $1 trillion in combined revenue. So over the past 4 quarters, they've seen $216 billion. That being said, over the next 8 quarters combined, he sees roughly, $785 billion more in revenue, which is still very rapid growth. As you can see here, over the past 2 years, it's grown at 88% clip in revenue. This puts them at roughly a 60% forward clip going forward for revenue over the next 2 years, which is very impressive. Nothing to bat an eye at, but I did see some investors online very confused by that. $1 trillion in total revenues by 2027 for the full year 2027 would be like a 120% CAGR for the next 2 years, which would just be unreal considering the company is already the biggest in the world. I posted this on X going over this. I said, Nvidia, look at this. Their growth has been something we've never seen before in such a short period of time at the size that they're at. 116% increase in revenues per year for the past 3 years. Jensen has just come out and said that they're expecting $1 trillion in revenues through 2027. Keyword is through. I see a lot of folks mistaking that for 2027 revenues being $1 trillion. What he means is from 2025 through 2027 total revenues to be $1 trillion, which is still very impressive. $1 trillion in total revenues by the end of 2027 still requires an astounding 49% revenue CAGR for the next 8 quarters and would likely have their 2027 revenues around $500 billion. Assuming net margins stay around 55%, this would mean Nvidia would see net income of $275 billion in 2027, very impressive. This should bring their EPS for full year 2027 in the ballpark of $11 per share. If this all comes to fruition, you can buy Nvidia today at around 16.5 times 2027 price to earnings. If I were to buy any company in the chip race, it would most definitely be Nvidia. And I posted a little chart here to go with it that shows their revenue over the past 3 years. As you see, 116% revenue compound annual growth rate, as well as the net margins are above 50% recently. Like I said, if we take that into account, today it's trading at a 37 price to earnings trailing, but if these projections hit and margins stay the same, like I said, it'll be around a 16.5 times 2027 price to earnings, which is definitely very impressive. You can see here on the next 12 months, they have it at a 22 PE, but for 2027, it's listed at a 22 price to earnings. Whereas if this revenue projection hits and the margins stay the same, we will see this closer to a 16x. Very, very impressive for a company that is growing revenues, 65% year over year. Free cash flows are growing roughly 60% year over year. Earnings per share are growing 66% year over year. And like I said, if those projections were to hit, we would see EPS around $11 per share 2 years from now. And as of today, it is only $5 per share. So that is over doubling it in 2 years, which is very impressive. Let's do a DCF here. If they continue to grow EPS as they're projecting out around 50% per year, and it trades at a similar multiple to today, we'll even say a 35 instead of a 37. This gives you incredible returns if you get the same exit multiple and this rate continues for over a 5-year time period. With that being said, I still don't hold Nvidia. I'm not too sure what's going to happen in this market. It's such a brand new market. Anything could change. AMD could come in and take their lunch. New competitors could come in. They have some of their biggest customers, such as Amazon, Google, Microsoft. They're all working on their own chips to reduce reliance on Nvidia chips. Although I do see the AI build out continuing, I don't know how long this will last. For example, they could have this growth for 5 years, but if they come out 5 years from now, and we're seeing the AI, the AI build out is slowing down and it's decelerating, this company would be re-rated very quickly and you would see EPS growth plummet even if it was over a 1 or 2 year period. Let's say they only have 30% EPS growth for the 5-year time period and it trades at a 15 price to earnings on your exit. That being said, you're getting an 8% return and you still have a cloudy future ahead of the company. I don't really know what's going to happen in the AI build out race, and I don't see a super wide moat with Nvidia. Obviously, they are the biggest dominant market shareholder, but they have other players in the market. It's a very quick, very evolving space to be in, and it's just something I'm staying away from, although I do think Nvidia shareholders will have great returns long term. Next up, the SEC is now getting rid of quarterly filings for public companies. Obviously, companies can still release filings, but they're reducing this to twice a year. I'm really not a fan of this. On Twitter, I said I'm not a big fan of this. The idea of thinking longer term sounds nice, but when you realize that shareholders are literally part owners in a business, a little transparency is nice to have from time to time. I'm hoping most companies will continue to provide quarterly earnings. The whole argument for this is they want companies and they want investors to think longer term than instead of quarter over quarter. At the same time, you have to think of, if I own Google shares, Google's one of the biggest companies in the world. I have such a small share. No one really cares what I get to see. But at the end of the day, I am literally a part owner in Google. So if I were to own a company and I don't get to see any of the fundamentals, anything behind the curtain for 6 months, that is such a long time. It creates a lot of transparency issues with insiders. You're going to see insiders and people that get information from insiders be able to take advantage of things a lot more, as it's already a problem. So this is something I'm really not a big fan of. Like I said, hopefully we see a lot of our companies that we're investing in continue to give us quarterly results going forward. Next up, I want to share a little clip that I saw from Gotham Chess YouTube video where he has the chatbots, these LLMs. They're basically competing in a tournament against each other in chess matches to see which one is the best at chess. I was watching this as entertainment purpose, but then I came to realization that this is, the leading models in the world. Claude is what's killing all software companies, supposedly. So this is definitely something that's very serious here, just how bad they are at chess, and you'll see here. And I want to talk about what this means for something like a Duolingo, which is now one of the leading chess learning platforms in the world after launching only in June of last year. So let's take a look.
The queen is in the way. So you only are going to come back here. Ain't nobody rerouting here. Absolutely nobody. Now, may I present the Kangaroo Queen, a new chess piece that has been patched into the game on February 24th, 2026. For 1 turn and 1 turn only per game, the queen can jump over another piece. And so in this position, Claude activates this new patch note and plays queen d5 check. Going through the pawn, hopping over it, and queen d5 is a check on the king. It is a pretty good move, but unfortunately, it's not particularly effective here.
As you can see here, this is obviously an illegal chess move. If you know anything about chess, which some of you might not, obviously no pieces can go through the through the pawns. The queen cannot hop over the pawns. The only piece that can hop over things is the knight, the little horse. So it's just very, very funny. There's plenty of moves. We'll keep watching here.
Because black is just going to defend, and that's exactly what black does. Very nice move from DeepSeek, counter-attacking the queen attack with a queen trade. If you do trade the queens here, then a lot of white's attack is just simply gone. White at this point is down a piece, a minor piece, a bishop, and you're just not going to be winning the game here. Queen takes e6 appears. Queen takes e6 check. And the king takes. For whatever reason, DeepSeek in this game really loved its king. The king is the protagonist of the story. After castling, it went to f7 and e6, but keep an eye on that freaking king, because that king is about to run a a marathon, all right, across the board. King takes e6 appears, and now Claude, well, I don't even know what to call this move. It en passant in the in another dimension. It does an en passant move in another dimension. It goes pawn takes d5. Pawn takes d5.
This is another illegal move. You cannot do this. There would have to be a pawn on the square that the pawn moved to, and it would have to be on a completely different rank. Just another really ridiculous move. And just to clear things up, he talked about how he went about this. He basically is asking the bots to play a chess match, and he's basically giving them the moves that the other player is making and asking them what move they want to make next. And they even give some reasoning for why they're making their moves. You could watch the rest of the video if you really wanted to. It's very entertaining. But they actually think this is how chess is played. And chess has been, a game that's been around for hundreds of years at this point. So quite embarrassing.
Check. It en passant's air. Pawn takes d5, the voluntary en passant with a check, attacking the king. And the king, meanwhile, walks to d7. Now, d7 is not a good move. You had to go this way. The knight should be standing out here. Why are you blocking your bishop? Why are you blocking your knight? The king should not be in the middle. The king needs to be over here. The king got to stay out of everybody's way, all right? The king is like when you have to fix something in the house or pack up some boxes and the dog is just in your face. The dog doesn't help. It's adorable, but it's not helping. King d7, somebody has to get the king out of the way. Now, Claude here plays a brilliancy. Bishop to g5. Absolutely voluntarily giving up a bishop. The only reason this is going up is because it still thinks it's white's move, and bishop h3 here would be checkmate. But it is black's move, and black can just play pawn takes bishop. There is nothing complicated about this. DeepSeek, though, plays knight to f6. That was not the best move. You had a free bishop there that you could have just absolutely taken, and now we trade off these two pieces. So we have given up a bishop. Now white only has 3 pieces remaining. I have absolutely no idea how Claude thinks it's going to create counterplay in this position, but as long as it's just en passanting air, I think it's going to be just fine. So bishop g5, bishop f6, takes. And now, that's exactly what Claude does. Claude here plays the move, d takes c6 check. Now, I'm getting sick and tired of this idiot. This pawn was...
All right, I think that's enough here. As you can see, some of the best AI models in the world, some of the best LLMs, they do not know the simple rules of a game that is, basically ingrained. This isn't a complex game. Obviously, it's complex, as chess is very, very complicated. But the way the pieces move, there's other parts in this video where, it basically spawns in a rook that didn't exist, and then there's another match where another chatbot just spawns in a queen that was not on the board. So it's very, very funny that people are saying that things like Duolingo will be, put to rest by AI bots. They're basically going to say, instead of learning a language on Duolingo or learning chess or learning math or learning science, that they're going to go into ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever model, and they're going to say, hey, make me a lesson plan for chess or to learn Spanish and English or whatever they're going to learn, and the chatbot is going to come up with a perfect lesson for them, and it's going to keep them engaged, and they're going to continue using this platform. As we know, the hardest part of learning a language or learning something like chess is consistency. I love playing chess. Even I like the Duolingo courses, but from time to time, I still give up. I still, put it on the back burner for a week or two because it is very hard. It's very demanding, but Duolingo does keep me a lot more engaged with the streak, with a lot of the gamified, lesson learning patterns that they have introduced to the platform. So I thought this was really funny that the leading thing in the sell-off of Duolingo here is the AI fears. And this is just a great example of how I do not think this is any problem at all for Duolingo. In fact, I think AI will be a big tailwind to the company. I posted this same clip on Twitter. Just a couple things I wanted to talk about. Duolingo launched chess in June 2025, and by the end of the year, they reached over 7 million daily active users on the course, with higher retention rates than the language learning courses. As of, from June to now, which is what, 8-9 months, it is now the second largest chess learning platform in the entire world, and it has higher retention rates than their language learning platform, which is the biggest language learning course in the world. They have an 85% market share in that, so the chess course is going to do really well. They've also implemented math music. They're going to introduce things like science, plenty of other verticals for this company to go into, and I think they have a very bright future going ahead. As we can see here on Qualtrim, the price was $540 per share in May of last year. It has now crashed down to, it was under $100, now it's just above $100. And the majority of these fears are from AI, and AI is the cause of their slowed growth. Obviously, no company is going to grow at 50% forever, but you can see here from 42% over a 5-year chart to 37% to 35%. But I think with the implementation of their new, verticals such as chess, such as music, such as math, and other things, as well as the management has once again came out time and time again stating that they're taking the pedal off the metal at introducing new daily and monthly active users, instead focusing more on actually teaching a lot better on the platform. So I think this company has a very bright future. That's all I've got for today's video. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe on your way out, and have a great rest of your day.